welcome to another episode of Graceland on ABS TV. Today we'll be handling a very important topic that is quite rampant among the youth today, and that is handling betrayal. My name is Grace Okoli Emmanuel, and you're welcome. And with me on today's program is Mr. Ebenebe Ernest Onyeka, and he'll be doing justice to this program. You're welcome, sir.
Thank you. Good morning, listeners.
Thank you so much. All right, sir. First of all, I would like to ask, when you hear the word betrayal, what exactly comes to mind when someone just mentions the word betrayal to you?
Well, once the word betrayal is mentioned, one thing that comes to mind is a distrust, and distrust, disappointment, feeling of pain, feeling of anger, feeling of deep hurt, and all emotions that are attached to the act of betrayal. So once the word betrayal is mentioned, first thing that comes to one's mind is that somebody whom you have loved so much, whom you believe in so much, whom you trust so much, has actually disappointed you. So that is, for me, the summary of the word betrayal.
Okay, so you mentioned something about someone who you trust and believe in so much disappointing you. So does that mean that betrayal actually happens from those you are close to, or can a stranger betray you?
Well, there's this word that we used to say, a man who is down fears no fall. If you don't feel anything for the person, if the person is not doesn't have any sort of relationship or any closeness to you, you wouldn't feel a sense of betrayal, because already there is no relationship. Betrayal comes from the fact that I trust you, and you can only trust someone you have a relationship with. I love you. You can only be betrayed by someone you love. And if we should go to the scriptures, Judas was able to betray Christ because he was with Christ at all time. In fact, the sign that showed that he has betrayed Christ was a sign of kiss. He betrayed Christ by kissing him. So you can only kiss someone you love. You don't go around kissing your enemies. So betrayal must always come from the fact that you trust, you love. Even in the office setting, there are people whom you enjoy much more closer relationship with, and in that sense, the moment they say something to you, the moment they leak out your secrets and other things, you feel that sense of betrayal because you had already confided in them. So also with husband and wife relationship, if a husband begins to play around, or if a wife begins to play around, you feel the sense of betrayal because you feel that these things can only be shared between you and this person, and not a third party. So betrayal must always come from someone you have a close relationship with.
Okay, considering that it comes from people you have a close relationship with, shouldn't one then be suspicious of people? Like, why would I be in a relationship with someone when I know the person is going to end up betraying me? Why then should I trust people? Why then should I believe so much in people when in the end they will betray me? What should one then do?
Nobody wears a mark of betrayal on their forehead. You cannot decipher someone who will betray you by mere looking at them. Another one is that it's important in the world we live today to always build this kind of a spirit of discernment. There are persons, when you're talking to them, they are very meticulous listening to you. And there are persons, when you're talking to them, they are listening to you, telling you about what some other persons have told them. And now, these are indicators. one of such indicators is the fact that if this person can share another person's secret, be rest assured that yours is no longer a secret, because the person has this tendency of letting out secret things. And so when you begin to look at these little indicators that you might think doesn't matter, but in the real sense it matters. For example, someone was sharing with me that there was this man of God that they went to and for counseling, and after telling him everything they were passing through, the next Sunday on the pulpit they were used for an example. And you feel, because when that thing, before when you're talking to somebody, the way they respond, their reaction, their countenance, you should be able to dictate some of these things. So when I'm talking to you, I'm looking at you eyeball to eyeball, and that gives you a sense of someone who has a tendency to betray. It's not everybody you see on the road you talk to. There must be something that you've done with that person that will lead to, okay, I think I can confide in this person. It's not, you don't confide in every person you see on the road. Okay.
So, sir, when someone gets betrayed, there are certain emotions that go through their minds. In your opinion, what kind of emotions would go through your mind if you get betrayed, or if you have been betrayed before? What were the things that you went through, and how were you able to surmount them?
One of the greatest emotions that runs through one's spine when you are betrayed is anger. You feel angry. Another one is that you unnaturally, unconsciously see yourself being scared, because apparently what you discussed with the person is something that you wouldn't want a third party to know about it. But now, if the person betrayed you in one of the things that you felt you've held so high as a secret, the sense of fear, the sense of being scared comes in, because you don't know whether other things that you talked about will be let out. Now, anger is very dangerous, because in feeling the emotion of anger, when the act of betrayal is committed, one thing that comes to your mind immediately is to strike the person to death. You want to retaliate. You want to use whatever means possible to fight back. But then it also comes with its attendant consequences, because when you think of harming the person, when you think of trying to retaliate, when you think of killing, when you think of doing all other things that are against the law, you also have the law to face, especially when such retaliation leads to death. And then again, if you plan retaliating by trying to do the same thing the person has done to you, it means that between good and evil, no one can actually say which one is which. It means that you two are the same, you have the same coin. So, but for me, having experienced betrayal before, I think the first and foremost thing to do is it gives you a sense of personal rebuilding. You begin to feel that this is time I live within me, and you can only live within you when you have Christ in you, because Christ lives in us. And as such, living within you entails that you can only go to God in prayers and ask for the grace to do what? To live a life of forgiveness. Because for you to surmount the pains that are associated with betrayal, you must have to forgive the person that has betrayed you. And when you forgive, a healing process has started, because you are no longer living in a cage of anger, because anger is a cage. It limits you. It causes you pains and other things associated with betrayal. So forgiveness, you must have to forgive the person that betrayed you. In forgiving the person that betrayed you, you also forgive yourself. You must have to genuinely seek the grace of God upon your life so that you can overcome such occurrences in the future.
Okay, thank you so much, sir. Dear viewer, you're still watching Graceland. We'll be back shortly.
Don't know where my wife is.
I became so wretched, so poor, that I couldn't feed 3 square meters. I was old.
Without Christ, you will be in crisis.
I want you to understand that life is not a rehearsal.
God is the institutor of marriage.
Catch Graceland with Grace Okoli Emmanuel every Sunday on ABS TV channel 24 or Star Times channel 113. Graceland, giving you a reason for living.
You're welcome back. In case you're just joining us, you're watching Graceland, and we're handling the topic handling betrayal with Mr. Ebenebe Ernest Onyeka. So, sir, I have a question. Considering the fact that you said that we should depend on the grace of God for healing and forgiving the other person, sometimes it's difficult when you have to forgive the person, and then it's like the person is living a great life. The person just finished betraying you, and the person is pushing ahead in life, succeeding, and you're tied down because it's annoying. I know someone who has gone through such. She was betrayed so heavily by someone she put her trust in, and the person moved on. The person is even succeeding, and yet she is there, angry, and it's difficult to let go of such pain when the person who did the betraying is not even showing any remorse, and the person is actually succeeding in his life and endeavor. So, what do you say to someone who has seen the person that betrayed him or her succeeding?
Well, it's actually interesting when you say that someone who has betrayed is actually living a successful life, is succeeding, and is doing well in their various endeavor. But I like to say that first, the word succeeding is subjective. And as such, what people go through a lot, and nobody will want to come to radio stations to announce that they are passing through terrible times. For every act of betrayal, I'm repeating it, there is a consequence to that. No matter the justification you think you have, because for an act of betrayal to take place, a bond has already been established, a bond of sharing deep secrets, a bond of confiding in someone. So, and the moment you strike the person, it's just like a dog eating the very bone that is hung on the neck. So it's actually something that one will not. The word succeeding, well, it's fine, but it doesn't happen because it goes with its consequences. But then again, that is why I said that the first thing that one has to do is to forgive themselves and forgive the people that hurt you. When you forgive, I've had this opportunity to talk to people that the moment someone hurts you and you feel that they are looking down on you and you don't forgive them, you bear grudges against them, it's a natural outcome. You see those people succeeding. They must succeed because you've placed a limitation upon yourself. The limitation of unforgiveness, the limitation of anger, the limitation of deep hurt, the limitation of vulnerability. You become vulnerable to issues that should have strengthened you the more. You understand? So if you talk about that someone is actually succeeding, in the real sense they are not succeeding, but you can surpass whatever kind of success you think they've recorded by simply doing one thing: forgiving them and allowing yourself to be forgiven. See betrayal as an opportunity to a call to challenge, a call for you to surpass the present situation you found yourself in. And as such, you can only, once you forgive the person, once you see it as a new kind of challenge, things begin to fall in place for you. Because, and when you think less, it's important that you think less of the person that betrayed you and think more about yourself. And when you think more about yourself, it takes you back to a process of introspection, of asking questions, crossing the T's and dotting the I's of your life. Where haven't I gotten it right? Where have I done? Was I the cause of the betrayal? Because we tend to just ask the question of, or talk about betrayal in the sense that it's a direct or it's an act done against us. But within the act that has been done against us, there are also the ones who've done against ourselves. Is it the things you shared with somebody? Is it something that is even worth sharing in the first place? Is it something that you would have kept as a secret within you? How well do you trust the person that, because some of us are very flippant, and you talk and talk and talk and talk and let out your whole secret. And let me say this, let me use this opportunity to say this. Whatever you cannot keep within you and you feel that you can share it with somebody, it's no longer a secret. So these are some of the things that we need to really look into to know how far have we let our personal things out for people for how far have we thrown our personal issue in the court of public debate. And once we get that right, you begin to notice that the tendency of getting betrayed will be significantly reduced. So, not the betrayer in the sense is not just against you, but you need also to look within you. How far have you betrayed yourself that allowed for another person? Ndị Igbo say no. There are certain things within you that would have given them an opportunity to have betrayed you. So betrayal for me is a process that instead of turning it to negatives, you begin to see it as a way of trying to bring yourself, setting yourself up, encouraging yourself in the Lord the more, and doing the needful. After all, Christ was betrayed. So you see, the sense of betrayal is something that is common amongst today's youth.
Okay, considering the fact that betrayal, that means we've established the fact that betrayal must happen.
Of course. Definitely,
because since relationships happen, betrayals must happen. So what about somebody who doesn't know Christ and person does not know how to get over this? What's the first step towards handling the betrayal that person is still holding on to?
The first step is itemizing the emotions that comes with betrayal. One of such emotion is anger, feeling of dejected, feeling of neglect, that somebody has neglected you. And then, in all these things, I also want to say this, the pride in us. At times some of us are very proud that in everything say, I have a whole me. There is nothing, you're just a human being, you're not a whole, and there is nothing in you. So that fact of anger, whether you know Christ, whether you've accepted him, whoever you are, anger is one destroying emotion that has lived with so many people. And that is why when you hear cases of killings going on across the country, some of these things are engineered by deeply rooted anger. So for someone who actually wants to be healed of the effects of betrayal, one of the things the person has to do is to first of all begin to itemize it and find a way of anger. You're not going to limit me. Because, and another one is that when you sit down, you need to write it down. Anger. What are the consequences of me getting angry to the extent of retaliation? If I retaliate, what if the devil becomes part of the process of maybe you just want to slap and you slap, the person faints, and you know where you're going to be, you will be charged for murder. So you need to sit down and write down the consequences. And what if it were to be that someone slept with your husband or someone slept with your wife? Now, when you think of, I'm going to go and retaliate, have you ever thought of HIV, which is not written on the face of anybody? Have you ever thought of the consequences of people seeing you that you're laying with another person's wife, and the societal stigma that comes with it? So these are part of the things that one has to really sit down and look into before embarking on retaliation but generally, whether you're a child of God or not, you must have to weigh the consequences of your reaction against the benefits.
All right, sir. Some people have betrayed others, and they have done so many things that are so wicked and selfish towards people. But they feel remorse, they feel the guilt, and they want to make amends. But the fear of the confrontation they will receive, or more like some people might have done something that would warrant them to be imprisoned or even beaten up if they should come open and apologize. Then these people that are afraid, how can you advise someone who wants to make amends for the betrayal he has caused on somebody? How can he make this amends and make it well without entering more trouble himself?
The Bible says that this day I give you between life and death a choice. And it now says, I encourage you, I'm admonishing you, I'm begging you to choose what? Life. Because it has been foresaid that when you choose death, which betrayal is part of, there are consequences. For every action, for every decision or action we take in this life, there are consequences. So it's better you face the consequences and avoid the emotional torture that you're going to live with for the rest of your life. Now, it's important too that we look at this from the point of view that if I commit an act of betrayal against something very dear to somebody, and I don't go out to apologize or confess because of the attendant consequences, it simply means that I have not genuinely repented of what I have done. You must have to face the consequences of every of your action. Because the moment you go to that person, no matter the repercussion, no matter the consequences thereafter, it has introduced a healing process in your life. And that healing process is something that you cannot buy from the market. It comes within. this natural calmness and happiness and peace that comes with being forgiven. So, first, you also have to ask the Holy Spirit of God. He is the perfectionist. Ask God that He should go before you to go and talk to that person. But that is when you have genuinely repented of your act, and not a way of getting back at that person the more. Because some persons will feel that maybe there are still things needed to still get from that person. Maybe the person has been placed in a position of authority, and as such, he now remembered that he did something years back, or he heard an announcement that the person will be promoted. Now the best thing is to go and mend a broken fence and begin a relationship again for you to do a bigger one. Then it means that you have not genuinely repented, and God will not come to your rescue. But when you are genuinely repented and you want to make amends for your shortcomings, your error, the acts you've committed, God will help you.
Okay, sir. Just before we close, I would like you to give a final word to the youth out there concerning this issue of betrayal. What would you have them say?
My final word is that betrayal usually it's an act committed mostly as a result of being selfish. So my advice generally is for people to shun selfishness, the youth most especially, to shun selfishness and don't think about what you're going to benefit from a process always. Think of what the both parties, it's going to be a symbiotic relationship, a mutual kind of an arrangement. You gain some, I gain some. But the moment you begin to think of myself alone, what am I going to benefit? Even in marriage, even in offices and every other thing, the moment you have that mentality of myself alone, it means that you have a high tendency of betraying people.
All right, thank you so much, Mr. Onyeka, for coming on the show, and we would love to have you some other time on Graceland.
It's my pleasure, thank you.
We're really grateful. All right, and there, viewer, this is where we'll draw the curtain on Graceland today. I want you to understand that no matter what it is you've gone through as a person, as a youth, if you've been betrayed, understand that forgiveness is key, and the Holy Spirit will help you if you can only confide in Him. And as for you who has betrayed someone else, understand that when you confess your faults one to another, you will be healed. You will obtain mercy. So for sponsorship and advert placements, please look at the link below, give us a call, and we'll get back to you. So until some other time, my name is Grace Okoli Emmanuel. See you then. Bye.